Shalom and welcome back to the Light to the Nations channel. Finally, in this video we'll continue with the last part of the study of the death, burial and resurrection of Yahushua HaMashiach. You know, it's been a long time since the last part that I was sharing with you. I think it was the part 6b that I uploaded on August, I think, last year, 2017, according to the Gregorian calendar. And you know, it's been an amazing journey for me doing this study, sharing with you this series. I have been able to find so much truth by doing this study. And it's been a real and a tremendous berakah, a tremendous blessing for me, and I hope it's been a blessing for you as well. I'm still remembering so many wonderful things that YaHuWaH did in me through this study. Even during some recording when we were talking about the resurrection and the 3 days and 3 nights that was prophesied by the Nabi Yonah, the prophet Yonah. I remember during the recording actually the Ruach HaKodesh opening the eyes in order to see more truth and more connection and more revelation about how that prophecy was connected to Yahushua. So, you know, and those kind of things is only YaHuWaH, the one able to do it, to open our eyes. And also this is a kind of confirmation that the truth is there. We are the ones that sometimes are blind in order to see it. And it's a kind of veil, as the word of YaHuWaH, the scripture is telling us. And the only one that can remove it is YaHuWaH himself. And that's why we need to keep always praying to him in order to fill us with his truth and with his light, in order to see the truth directly from his book, from the scripture, because the word of YaHuWaH is the truth. The intention and what I felt in my heart is it's time to share with you the final part and share with you what I received last year and what I called the mystery of the day 15. Okay. We reviewed during this series a lot of truth, and it's important to mention, if this is the first time that you are checking this series and you are watching this part, the part number 7, and you have not watched the previous part, please stop here and do it from the beginning. Start with part number 1. Why is that? Because we have been building step by step the different components, and we have been doing it in a sequence that has been much easy to understand and to reveal and understand the truth from YaHuWaH actually. So I know that it's 6 part, and with this 7 part these are many hours that you need to watch, but believe me, it's worth enough to spend that time studying the word of YaHuWaH. It is the best way to spend our time. So if you have not watched the previous parts, please do it in order, because that's the only way that you are going to be able to see the entire information, the entire study in the proper sequence, in order to understand what we are going to share and discuss in this final part. Okay? So once again, all this study we are gonna base directly from the word of YaHuWaH. We're gonna find the answers directly in this amazing book, and we're gonna let the scripture to speak by itself. So as always, don't watch this study only you need to study this video. You need to grab your scripture, take some pens, some papers in order to take some notes, and let the Ruach HaKodesh to reveal in your heart if what we are going to study is His truth, is the truth of YaHuWaH or not. So let's start right away, because we need to check a lot of information, and so I want to use the time as much as possible in this important topic. So let me share the screen with you, and we are gonna start reviewing the last part of the previous video, the part number 6, with the summary, just to recap and resume what was the final part that we were studying, and we are going to start reviewing the 7th part from that point. So if you remember, we were studying about the Lamb of Elohim in the part number 6, and in summary, with everything that we reviewed in that part, in the part 6, we saw that the Korban Pesach could be a lamb or a goat. So there is a kind of misconception that when we talk about the offering of Pesach, everybody believes it's a lamb, but the scripture, as we saw it, the scriptures teach us that it could be a lamb or could be a goat. And why this was so important? Because by studying this part, we were able to understand the mistranslation of the Hebrew words, and also to connect about Yahushua being the Lamb. And we discovered that the proper translation for the Lamb in Greek should be a member of the flock. So that's why Yahushua could be a member of the flock, could be a lamb or a goat. That's what we review in the part number 6. So in addition to that, also we were comparing the offering and the sacrifice of Yahushua and the purpose of the Korban Pesach. The Korban is the offering of Pesach, okay? And we found that the Korban Pesach is not intended at all for sin or guilt offering or for any kind of cleansing. The Korban Pesach, the intention of the Korban Pesach was to serve as a sign in order for the plague. The plague was the death of the firstborn, to skip, to pass over, to Pasach, the firstborn of Israel. So the purpose and the intention of the Korban Pesach was totally different from the intention and purposes of a sin or guilt offering. Okay? So we were comparing, if you remember, we were comparing the different characteristics based on the scriptures. We reviewed several passages from the scriptures, understanding what was the purpose of the offering of Yahushua in the Brit Hadashah and also in the Tanakh. So we were able to see that the characteristics and purposes of Yahushua's sacrifice are not fulfilled at all by the Korban Pesach, but they were fulfilled completely in the sin or guilt offering. Okay? And also we saw an important part, that the blood of Yahushua is not the sign for the coming Pesach, because we also reviewed that there is a Pesach that is coming. It's coming on the end times. And we can read it completely from the book of Yehezkel and also from Hason, and we study this as part of the part number 6, and we see that this totally related to the 144,000, that they are going to receive a special seal in order to escape the death, in the same way that in the beginning in Mizraim, the people of Israel, the children of Israel, receive a special sign. In this case was the blood of the lamb, in order to be protected from the death of the firstborn. Okay? So that's part of the same. We were able to confirm that Israel is the one that is going to fulfill Pesach during the end times. And this is very important because it's something that we were reviewing it throughout the entire series, and it's something that I was sharing with you in other videos as well, that I received directly from YaHuWaH during last year, that Israel, the Moedim are related to Israel, to the prophetic calendar of Israel, and it's Israel the one fulfilling the Moedim. It's not Yahushua himself. For sure, Yahushua is the key component that we Israel need in order to fulfill the Moedim and to be close and come back and return to YaHuWaH the Father. But we Israel are the one fulfilling, the one that we fulfilled in the past, that we're fulfilling now, and we will fulfill in the near future the Moedims. So this is an important key. Okay, so basically by analyzing and studying all this topic and all these passages from the scripture, we were able to confirm that Yahushua didn't die as the offering of Pesach. Yahushua didn't die as the Korban Pesach, but Yahushua died as the ultimate sin and guilt offering, because this is what his blood is doing, is to cleanse us from the sin and the guilt, and also is to cleanse his people from the past sins and deliver us from the penalty of death. This is quite clear to see, and we saw it as part of the previous part, the part number 6, the land of Elohim. So by understanding all of that Yahushua didn't die as the Korban Pesach, that Yahushua died as the ultimate sin and guilt offering, the question we were asking the answer for, and is the question that kept pending, and we're going to review in this part number 7, was, did he have to die on the 14th of Aviv? We saw in the previous parts of the video, when we were reviewing the chronology of the events, that Yahushua, according to YaHuWaH's calendar, died on the day 15 of the first Chodesh of the month of Aviv. So by understanding that Yahushua wasn't the Korban Pesach, for sure he didn't need to die on the 14th of Aviv. So what we need to understand, why he died on the day 15, and this is what I called the mystery of the day 15, and what we're going to review today. An additional question that we analyzed and keep it open, and the intention is to answer as part of this last part of the series, is how one man could be able to bear the sin of other human being. This is an important question because there are so many arguments and so many debates about this, that how one man can bear the sins of others, because there are multiple passages that says that this cannot be done, or everyone is responsible of their sins. You cannot be responsible of the sin of your children, or the children cannot be responsible of the sin of their fathers. There are multiple passages about that, so this question is very important to answer. And the second, and is very important, is how a human sacrifice could be acceptable by YaHuWaH without breaking Torah. This is also a topic that is so full of debates and discussions and confusion, that it's important that we analyze and look directly in the word of YaHuWaH what's the answer for this. And I have to share with you, because even a few weeks ago YaHuWaH gave me the opportunity to see again a new witness that it will help us to understand the truth of this question. And we will share it and we will review it as part of this last part, the part number 7 of this series. So this was the last part that we reviewed in the previous video. So we are going to start with the part number 7 now, that is titled Leaven and Ransom. the mystery of the day 15. Okay? You know, I call it because I receive it in that way. I put this title, the mystery of the day 15, because I haven't heard this in any place that are talking why Yahushua needed to die in the day 15, and how this is connected to the scripture and the revelation of the scripture and the Moedim and so on. There is amazing things that I was able to see, and it's my duty, it's my service to YaHuWaH to share this light with you. And again, I'm not the owner of the truth. I have been telling you in all the videos. I'm just sharing what I have received. It's your task to pray and research and look the face of YaHuWaH. Seek the face of YaHuWaH in order to confirm if what I'm sharing with you is the truth or not. So, as you can see in the title, Leaven and Ransom, there are two things that we are going to analyze. And in order to make it easy to study this last part, I'm gonna divide it in two parts, the part number 7a and 7b, okay? And in this part 7a, we're gonna talk only about the leaven, okay? And the part 7b, we're gonna talk about the ransom. Both together are related to the mystery of the day 15, okay? I will do my best in order to try to compile the material for the part 7b before Pesach. It's gonna be a challenge, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it. I will do my best, but if it's not, I will try to share with you this second part as soon as possible. But at least it's important to release the information of the first part, because you are gonna start seeing what I was able to receive and see. So let's continue. I want to remember how we started this study, and I was sharing with you main keys, and I was telling you that those keys are the ones that were going to help us in order to open our understanding to this entire series, this entire study. So if you remember, the first key was, what is a day? We needed to understand what is a day according to the scripture, that a day is starting at the morning and ending at the evening. And we were reviewing it throughout the series, at the beginning of the series, and we were able to confirm that this key was true according to the revelation of the word of YaHuWaH. The second key was the first Pesach, and actually to analyze and understand the events when Israel came out of Mizraim, Egypt. Through understanding the sequence of events of the first Pesach, we were able to unlock different components and different truth in this sequence of studies and sequence of videos. Okay. The third key was that the first day of the year is on the fourth day of the week. And why this was so important, and we were able also to review it and to confirm directly from the word of YaHuWaH. And this was important to establish in order to understand in which day of the week Pesach has to be celebrated. Okay? And if you remember, by doing that, we were able to determine that Pesach has to be celebrated on the third day of the Shavuot. Okay? Also, and this was so critical and important, is that this key is that the Mashiach ate Pesach in his Last Supper. This was so many debates from many people and different years, but just by reading the word of YaHuWaH, we were able to determine that Yahushua HaMashiach with his Talmidim, his disciple, ate Pesach in the Last Supper. Okay? Also, through these studies, we were able to also to confirm this important key, that Yahushua is not the one to fulfill YaHuWaH's Moedim. It is us, Israel, the one that are fulfilling and will fulfill all the Moedim through Yahushua. And the last key that I was sharing with you at the beginning, and also we were able amazingly to confirm through the witnesses of the word of YaHuWaH, is that the calendar dispute during the Second Temple period, we were able to understand that there were two different calendars, a lunar-based calendar and a calendar of YaHuWaH based on the three luminary system. And this was according to the witness of the Dead Sea Scroll, the Book of Maccabee, and also from the Scripture. It was an amazing part of this video where we were able to confirm the two different calendars, and it was so amazing how YaHuWaH opened our eyes to see that Yahushua was using a different calendar from the Yahudim, and because of that, in the Brit Hadashah, we were able to see that in many parts, the feast were titled as the Feast of the Yahudim, the Feast of the Jews. And why was that? Because the Jews were celebrating the Moedim and the feast in different dates, because they were following a lunar calendar imposed by Antiochus Epiphanes. Okay? And we saw that Yahushua was using a different calendar. It was an amazing part. So those were the keys that we were using, and we were able to confirm throughout this entire series. And those are the keys that now it's gonna help us in order to understand what we are gonna discuss today. So also as a recap of what we saw in all the previous part, from part number 1 to part number 6, is that YaHuWaH is declaring the end using the events of old. And this is important because we will see it again in this part, in the part 7a. Okay? Also that the Pesach will always be on the third day of the Shavua. We saw it and we will use it as well today. Okay, that's why I was inviting you to watch this in order. That's the only way that you are going to be able to understand what we're going to discuss in this video today. Also, we saw that Antiochus Epiphanes forced and imposed the Yahudim to forget the Torah and to follow all manners of the Gentiles, the nations. And he was the one imposing a lunar calendar, the same calendar that the Yahudim are using today. Okay? Also that Yahushua kept a different calendar than the Yahudim, an amazing revelation. Also that Yahushua ate Pesach in his Last Supper. Also that this was so amazing that the story of and sign of Jonah is the key to understand Yahushua's resurrection, the 3 days and 3 nights. And that is totally different from 3 nights and 3 days. We saw that the Yahushua was kept in the tomb just minutes before the day started, we're going to start. Okay? And he resurrected just minutes before the first day of the Shavua, the first day of the week was going to start, to begin. So also we saw that Yahushua died on the first day of the Chag HaMatzot, the feast of Unleavened Bread, and resurrected just when Boker was starting on the first day of the Shavua, the first day of the week. It was very important because he died on the day 15 according to YaHuWaH's calendar, and the day 15 is the first day of the feast of Unleavened Bread, or Chag HaMatzot in Hebrew. Okay? Also we saw that Pesach offering can be a lamb or a goat. And also we saw, and this was an important point, that Yahushua's sacrifice was a sin, guilt, and a covenant offering was the blood of the covenant. It's an important point because we will review it again today. And it wasn't a Pesach offering. Okay? So we are going to start from here. As I told you, we are going to start studying about the leaven. So what we are going to review today, what we are going to discover in this video today, and we are going to review and we're going to study about the leaven, and we are going to check what leaven represent using directly the scriptures. Why we have to remove leaven? This is important because, you know, by tradition we have learned, those that we started this journey in the way of YaHuWaH and learning Torah, is that as part of the feast, we need to remove leaven from our homes, from our houses. So we will see why we need to remove leaven, and most importantly, what leaven represents and how this is related to removing leaven. Okay. Also, we will review and we will see what is the effect of leaven on the assembly, on the people of YaHuWaH. It's also important in order to understand part of the mystery of the day 15. Also, we will talk about the good leaven, because we will see there is a bad leaven and a good leaven. Okay? Finally, we will review the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Chag HaMatzot, and the sin offering. And this is very important because here we will start seeing part of the mystery of the day 15. So we will review what is the significance of the feast. Also, we will talk about how to become a leaven in order to be leaven again. Also, and this is very important, removing the leaven, when to do it, because there are so many traditions, and it's just a matter to read the Devar of YaHuWaH in order to understand when leaven must to be removed. Okay. Also, we will review the sin offering for the assembly. We reviewed something in the previous part, in the video number 6. Now we will focus our attention on the sin offering for the assembly. The purpose of the assembly, not for the Kohen, not for the Melech, for the king, nor for the individual, for a person. The sin offerings for the assembly. And this is very important. And also, and finally, we will see how the sin offerings are related to the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is part of the mystery of the day 15. This is the first part of the mystery. The second part, as I already told you, is going to be related to the ransom, and this is what we're going to review in the second video. So let's start talking about the leaven, how we can understand what leaven represents. And as you can see in the title, and this is very important, and we will review it immediately in the Devar of YaHuWaH, is something related to the false teaching and the hypocrisy. So let's start reviewing the Devar of YaHuWaH with the witnesses, and this is in the book of Matthew, chapter 16, verse 5 to 12. Matthew chapter 16, 5 to 12. And it says the following. This is Yahushua speaking with his Talmidim, and it says in the verse 5, "And his taught ones came to the other side and had forgotten to take bread. And Yahushua said to them, Mind, and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees." So here Yahushua is speaking about the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, but it's a warning. Yahushua is saying, take care, be careful of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And let's continue, because the Talmidim, the disciples, started to discuss between themselves what Yahushua meant. Okay, and it says in the verse 7, "And they reasoned among themselves, saying, Because we brought not bread. But Yahushua, aware of this, said to them, O you of little belief, of little emunah, why do you reason among yourselves because you brought not bread? Do you still not understand, neither remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000 and how many baskets you picked up? Or the 7 loaves of the 4,000 and how many large baskets you picked up? How is it that you do not understand that I did not speak to you concerning bread, but to beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees? So Yahushua is going deeper and deeper and trying for the disciples to open the understanding and open the eyes and open the ears. He's not telling directly what's the answer, because it's much easier to tell the answer, but it's the worst way to do it. It's better that YaHuWaH, wait for YaHuWaH to open our understanding, because that's the only way that the truth is going to remain in our hearts. We are not gonna learn it just in our mind. YaHuWaH will put His truth in our heart directly. That's why Yahushua was doing it. So, and we see here the result of Yahushua pushing His disciples to understand in the verse 12, because it says, then they understood that He did not say to beware of the leaven of the bread, but of the teaching of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. So they finally, the Talmidim, the disciples, understood what Yahushua meant by the leaven, to be careful of the leaven of the Pharisees. He was telling them to be careful of the teaching of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. So basically, the connection that Yahushua is making here is that leaven is related to false teaching or wrong teachings. In this case, the teaching of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And this is very important, because we will see how this false teaching or wrong teachings will conduct us to an important point, an important truth that throughout the entire scripture, YaHuWaH is warning us. Okay? So let's continue. The second witness is in Mark chapter 8, verse 15. Mark chapter 8, verse 15. And it says the following, and He was warning them, saying, mind, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the leaven of Herods. Again, Yahushua is warning them about the leaven of the Pharisees and of the leaven of Herods. In this case, we understand immediately that connecting the witness of Matityahu with the witness of Marcos, that he's referring to the teaching of the Pharisees or the instructions of Herods in this case as well. So let's continue with the third witness, and this is in the book of Luke chapter 12, verse 1 to 3. Luke verses 12, chapter 12, verse 1 to 3. And it says, meanwhile, when an innumerable crowd of people had gathered together so that they trampled one another, He began to say to His taught ones, first, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. And whatever is concealed shall be revealed, and whatever is hidden shall be known. So whatever you have said in the dark shall be heard in the light, and what you have spoken in the ear in inner rooms shall be proclaimed on the housetops. So here Yahushua is not connected directly the leaven with the teachings of the Pharisees, but he's saying that the leaven is the hypocrisy. And this is very, very important, because we will see it in a moment. So basically, if we are talking about false teaching that are so dangerous, and the false teachings are related to the leaven, we need to understand the answer for this question. Why the false teachings are so dangerous? Why Yahushua was warning us to be careful about the false teaching? So we need to answer this question, because now we see that leaven is connected to false teaching. So why Yahushua is warning us about this? So the warning of Yahushua, basically, in order to understand this warning, we need to see from the scripture what is the result of following false teaching, because that was the warning from Yahushua. Be aware of the false teaching of the leaven of the Pharisees. So what is the result of if we follow the false teaching? And the first witness is in the book of Matthew, chapter 23, verse 25 to 28. Matthew chapter 23, verse 25 and 28. And it says the following, and this is an amazing chapter actually. It says, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they are filled with plunder and unrighteousness. Blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and dish, so that the outside of them becomes clean too. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you are like whitewashed tombs, which outwardly indeed look well, but inside are filled with dead men's bones and all uncleanness. So you too outwardly indeed appear righteous to men, but inside you are filled with hypocrisy and lawlessness." So this last part, and we see how Yahushua was treating the Pharisees, that basically they were showing themselves as righteous men, but inside they were filled with all kind of uncleanness. But he is important because he's connecting Yahushua is connecting the way of the Pharisees and the teachings of the Pharisees with the hypocrisy, but also he's connected with something very important, with lawlessness. So, in other words, as you can see in the screen, Yahushua is connecting the false teaching and the ways of the Pharisees directly with sin. Okay? So by following the false teaching, is basically we can get trapped in sin, in practicing lawlessness, that is breaking of the Torah, that basically is sin. So, second witness we have it in Timotheus Aleph. This is First Timothy chapter 4. Verse 1 and 2. Timotheus Aleph. This is First Timothy chapter 4, verse 1 and 2. It says the following, "But the Spirit distinctly says that in latter times some shall fall away from the belief, paying attention to misleading spirits and teachings of demons, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having been branded on their own conscience." So basically and this is a warning for our times, for the latter times, is basically what is said here. So, and he's talking about falling away from the belief. Basically, this is in the verse 1, "In the latter times some shall fall away from the belief." And what does it mean to fall away from the belief? In other words, as you can see, this go astray. So it's not following the way of YaHuWaH, it's following a total different way. So this is basically the result of paying attention of misleading spirits and teachings of demons. False teaching is that we can go astray. Okay? Third witness is in the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter 7. So what we are trying to do is just to understand what's the meaning of leaven. Okay? Matthew chapter 7 verse 15 to 23. Okay? It says the following, "But beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are savage wolves. By their fruits you shall know them. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? So every good tree yields good fruit, but a rotten tree yields wicked fruit. A good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit, and a rotten tree to yield good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. So then, by their fruits you shall know them. Not everyone who says to me, 'Master, Master,' shall enter into the reign of the heaven, the Shamayim, but he who is doing the desire of my Father in the Shamayim. Many shall say to me in that day," what day? The latter day, "Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and done many mighty works in your name? And then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness. So Yahushua is teaching us that we are going to be able to identify the false teachings by their fruits. What are the fruits? Is something that we can see in the trees. These are related to the works. The works of the people will reveal who they are. And it's not only the work, it's also the emunah, it's both things. We will understand what is inside of them. Okay? And we see here how Yahushua is connecting this kind of people, the people with wicked fruit, with the practice of lawlessness. So basically, those ones that are basically with leaven, with false teaching, those are the ones bearing wicked fruits, and meaning basically not doing the desire of the Father. And by not doing the desire of the Father is basically to work lawlessness, and we know that lawlessness is sin, is breaking of the law, breaking of the Torah, is practicing sin. Okay, let's continue. This is in Kefabet. This is 2 Peter. Kefabet. 2 Peter. Chapter 2, verse 1 to 3. And then we will jump to verse 12 to 15. And it says, but there also came to be false prophets among the people. He's talking about the children of Israel. As also among you there shall be false teachers, who shall secretly bring in destructive heresies, and deny the master who bought them, bringing swift destruction on themselves. And many shall follow their destructive ways, because of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. And in greed, with fabricated words, they shall use you for gain. From of all their judgment does not linger, and their destruction does not slumber. So it's talking about the false teaching that are bringing destructive heresies in order to deny the master, and we see that this is happening nowadays. So let's go to the verse 12. But these, like natural and reasoning beasts, having been born to be caught and destroyed, blaspheme that which they do not know, shall be destroyed in their destruction, being about to receive the wages of unrighteousness, deeming indulgence in the day of pleasure, spots and blemishes, revealing and their own deception while they feast with you, having eyes filled with an adulteress, and unable to cease from sin, enticing unstable beings, having a heart trained in greed, children of a curse. Having left the right way, they went astray, having followed the way of Balaam, the son of Beor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness. So basically, everything that we are seeing, the different description of following and the result of following false teaching is basically to go astray, to practice unrighteousness. In other words, to practice sin. So we see a common thing over here. I'm gonna skip in order to make it faster. You have different witness here in Ephesians 4, chapter 4, verse 14 and 15. Is basically everything is related to go astray and depart from the truth if we follow false teaching. In 2 Timothy chapter 3 is talking about to go astray and depart from the scripture and righteousness. And if we depart from the scripture and righteousness, we will start practicing sin. So in Hasson, Revelation chapter 2:20 is basically to go astray and commit sin. You can check all of those passages and confirm everything that I'm sharing with you here. So in Jeremiah and Yirmiyahu chapter 50, verse 6 and 7 is basically if we follow the false teaching is to go astray and commit sin against YaHuWaH. It's a very delicate topic if we follow false teaching. So, and also, and we will review this in Devarim chapter 13, because this is an important topic. What it means to follow false teaching. Verse 1 and 4. This is Deuteronomy, Devarim 13, verse 1 to 4. And it says, "When there arises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he shall give you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder shall come true, of which he has spoken to you, saying, Let us go after other mighty ones, which you have not known, and serve them. Do not listen to the words of that prophet, or the dreamer of dreams, for YaHuWaH your Elohim is trying you, to know whether you love YaHuWaH your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being. Walk after YaHuWaH your Elohim, and fear him, and guard his commands, and obey his voice, and serve him and cling to him." So we see here, but basically, YaHuWaH in his Torah, he's warning us about this false teaching, these false teachers. So, is the way that YaHuWaH will try us, will try if we are cling to him, if we are loving him and doing his commandments. Because if some of these false teachers that are bringing distraction and false teachings will take us in a totally different way, knowing the way of YaHuWaH. And if we hear them and start practicing this false teaching, we're gonna sin against YaHuWaH. And it's the way that YaHuWaH is trying us if we're keeping his way and his commandments or not. So, in summary, basically, if we analyze all of these passages, we see that leaven is directly related to sin. And this is very important because by understanding all of these passages, we see and we can do the connection directly, analyzing and understanding the word of YaHuWaH, that leaven is related to sin. Why is this so important? Because we are analyzing the mystery of the day 15, and the mystery of the day 15 is related to the first day of the feast of Unleavened Bread, of Chag Hamatzot. So, the feast of Unleavened Bread, as the word said, is unleavened bread. It's bread without leaven. And in this case, if we are able to see from the scripture that leaven is related to sin, we're going to start seeing where we can start making the connection directly using the word of YaHuWaH, what this feast is about. What is the intention and the purpose of this feast? Is related to the removal of sin. Okay? So let's continue. And this is an important story, an important passages that we are gonna analyze. And basically here we see a direct connection of sin compared to leaven.